Hello and welcome back to Mictlan. As I said in the last turn, we're going to conquer the world as our great god Mate-Uratactitlan. But first, let's take a look at our dominion, at the troops we can recruit, at the various thrones in the world, at the pretenders we're facing, and we're going to ask ourselves why exactly there are two candles here. Now, I realized that I don't really have to hurry up that much as long as I keep on track, because, well, you can always pause the video and continue watching at a later time. So right now my goal is to play one interesting turn per episode, or at least one interesting turn per episode, explain what I'm doing, and, well, that's it. As things go, I may still change the plans, and yeah, but that's alright. These started like this, by the way. Now, my first comment, of course, is that I'm playing different music in the background. I'll link to it in the description. And I like to know what you think of this music. I think it really fits Mictlan, and I usually add in a playlist of music that I think fits the nation. For instance, if I would play, let's say, Agartha, no. For instance, if I would play Ur, the nation we mentioned before, we would play music which is kind of like I would play Mesopotamian music. But I found a really nice long playlist of tribal forest music which fits Mictlan greatly. I mean, it doesn't sound like the warrior music we need, but we're not always waging war, you know? Besides, there's no fighting going on when we're doing blood sacrifices. Those are peaceful, somewhat. So let's get started by asking ourselves what our dominion does. I showed you how I picked it, and I gave some general comments, but I'll go over everything again. Now, the nice thing about the capital is that it starts with our skills, all of our skills actually. So yeah, we can see them all, and even more importantly, it will list the effects of every one of them independently. We've got 3 order, which gives us 50% income, -6% random events, and +3 unrest reduction, which is really important because, as I mentioned before, we're Mictlan and we're sacrificing blood virgins, sorry. Now, why is that important? Because people really hate it when we kidnap their daughters. This generates unrest, and this unrest reduces our income. And of course, we need a lot of gold when we're conquering the world. I mean, which empire doesn't? I think that more empires fell because they had no more money left to spend on warfare than they did because they had no soldiers. So, yes, this is important. And the unrest reduction helps us keep unrest low, at a minimum preferably. Then we got sloth, which reduces our income and our resources. As I mentioned before, we could have picked the opposite, production, but we picked this to give our pretender more points. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter that much either, since we got -6%, since we don't really need the resources. Why? Well, we're mostly going to train juggler warriors, which cost, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, 4 resources. You can also see it here, 4 resources. Now, our province by itself has 44 resources, and it can get more by taking resources from surrounding provinces once we conquer them. So I don't see that becoming a problem. So, huzzah, 123 pretender points. There we go. Then we got heat 3. Again, we picked 2 heat for the pretender points. And we got -10% income and minus 20% supplies. Now, income is kind of obvious, but the supplies are pretty important. They feed our troops. Once we get less supplies than supply usage, part of the troops will starve, or start starving, and eventually they'll get diseased. Now, it's important to note that our commanders will never starve, unless there's like 0 supplies, because they always eat first. They're the actors of Mate-Uratactitlan after all, so they deserve to eat first. They're our chosen ones. Why was I clicking there? Yeah, clicking here. Now we've got, this is heat. Oh, by the way, we prefer heat 1. So basically these are like 2 negative levels. But if we prefer temperate temperatures, we'd have income minus 15% and supplies minus 30%. A lot of other nations like temperate temperatures. So we're actually harming them more than we are hurting ourselves. And there are exceptions, but they're rare. Now we got growth 2. I would normally pick growth 3 and order 2, or moment 3 or 1 order, 3 growth, depending on the nation of course, but mostly growth 3. Why? Because it gives income, it gives growth, which is why I pick it, and it gives supplies. Supplies are great, it even fixes our supply problem caused by the heat, and more importantly, it grows our population. So whenever we patrol, we can, to reduce unrest, we kill a part of the population. A small part, but we kill some of them. Growth basically guarantees we still keep getting more population despite our patrols. It also increases our income on the long term. And yeah, growth is a great skill to pick. The opposite is death, just like the opposite of sloth is productivity, and it has exactly the opposite effects. The population slowly dies over time, every turn by, for instance, 0.20%, 0.40 or 0.60. And it's generally a bad pick unless you need the points or you're playing a nation which can handle that, which can deal with that. Now we've got Misfortune 1, which gives us 5% extra random events. And that's great. We can deal with random events. We can use those really well, in fact. Oh no, wait, actually, sorry. Random events would be great if it would be combined with luck, but we've got Misfortune. So 5% extra random events, luckily counted by the 6% less random events from order, and combine. We'll end up at slightly less than average, but still most of our events will be bad, like 65% of the events. And while we can deal with that, it may really cause some damaging events. But well, we needed the extra pretender points to get those 2 levels of blood magic. Oh yeah, we've got Drain 2. Now Drain is really interesting, although a lot of players seem to overlook it. Why? Well, at 2 Drain or 2 magic, the magic resistance of the units in a province with these skills will be influenced. At Drain they will get 1 more magic resistance, and at Magic 2 they will get 1 less magic resistance. Our troops are mainly going to be supported by some spells, and are going to make up the brunt of, well, our power. We're not going to use a lot of offensive spells, but we're going to rely on a lot of summoned troops. So increasing the strength of these troops is actually useful, even though it harms our research. Still, we mainly pick Drain for the extra points it gives us, for our pretender. And yeah, that's it. Oh wait, sorry, Drain also gives mages more fatigue, so they'll faint quicker. And since the enemy will probably spam a lot of offensive spells, this will help defend our troops further by further fatiguing them. Naturally, magic does the opposite. So, with our skills dealt with, I would like to mention that we've got 1 candle. Our dominion is very strong yet, but we'll fix that. And we also got 1 candle here. Now, we've got 2 black candles here with a red fire. We got beautiful little yellow fire. This is enemy dominion. This means that one of our opponents started here, because the only way you can have 2 dominion in 1 province at the start of the game is by owning that province as your capital. As you get 2 random candles, 1 guaranteed to be your capital and 1 either in your capital or around it. Well, they got 2 here. So they can't be located here or here, for instance. Now they pick trashy skills. They're probably Oceania, our underwater nation. And well, they got 3 Turmoil, which increases random events, and then they combined that with Misfortune. They got 11% more events, and 15% of them, 65% of them will be bad. They got a lot of magic though, which is great for them. Death, sloth, and a heat. And I think that all underwater nations like temperate temperatures, so they're hurting themselves, and they'll be hurt even more if they enter our dominion. By the way, you can see that we got no skills here, but they'll slowly increase up to our dominion level. And the stronger our dominion strength, well, the faster they will grow up to what we like. As you can see, we got heat 0 and still got negative events. That's because we like heat 1. So with that dealt with, we can continue to our troops. We've got a scout. These are our commanders, sorry, we can only recruit one per turn. And I'm going to click the priest king right away, because he'll be our first extra commander. Do note, by the way, that not all commanders can actually command troops. This guy, for instance, got 0 leadership. But okay, the scout. The scout is stealthy, and he got a lot of different survival skills, which means that he can pass through territories unhampered. This doesn't count in enemy provinces, however, as they can always move only one move per turn through enemy territories, unless these territories, unless the scout can fly, which obviously this guy can't. So he's stealthy, he got mountain survival and forest survival. Good for him. We're going to use him, but not yet. Then there are tribal kings. These guys can levy slaves, which I mentioned earlier. We're going to use the slaves to patrol to reduce unrest, which should be here. See? Unrest. I was close. They also can command 80 troops, and they got forest survival. Now they got 2 map moves, so they can move through 2 provinces a turn. 2 friendly provinces. So for instance, if we want to move reinforcements 1, 2 to here, he can move them in 1 turn. Whereas another commander without forest survival, well, he would be hampered by the forest. So it would take 2 turns to go there, 2 turns to go back. They're great. I love tribal kings. He's also sacred, so he gets the benefits of our blessings, and sacredness reduces the halves the maintenance costs of the unit. So his upkeep is half as much as normal, and the normal amount is your recruitment cost divided by 5 multiplied by 4 per turn. Per year, sorry. Every turn takes a month, so 1/12 of that is what you get per month. Yeah, I think that I covered him. He's basically a leader. That's what he does. His stats aren't that important because he'll probably never see combat, and if he does, I'll explain it in greater detail. The Mictlan priest is going to be our researcher and our main acting priest. He's got priest level 1, which means that in our case he can sacrifice one blood slave per turn, per month. Blood magic level 1 and a random magic skill. Now I love the combination of fire and blood level 1 because it allows him to summon fiery imps, which I'll show you later. And they can give us fire support, literal fire support in this case. He also got 7 research ability, which is not that bad, especially because he's cheap, and his upkeep will be even lower than average because he is sacred. But it will be reduced by 2 to 5 because of our drain, so we'll need a lot of these guys. So it's a good idea to get another fortress, to recruit these priests. Now we got the Nahuwali. Nahuwali are Mictlan sorcerers. They're not sacred. There are only not sacred commander besides the scout, and they're pretty good mages. They get a lot of random skills. There's 10% chance at each of these. Well, 10% chance that you'll get one of these, and then 1/4 for every one of them, of course. So there's 1 in 40 of these guys will have nature, for instance. 1 in 40 will have an extra blood. 1 in 40 will get an extra astro magic. I don't know why, but for the last, I think 3 or 4 games, I started the game with Nahuwali, or actually in the turn after this one, and they got 3 nature, which was great. But I'm not sure whether I'm going to recruit one this time. So or right away at least. Then we can continue to the priest king. Yeah, I mentioned that I'm recruiting one of them. Well, that's because they got 2 priest levels, 2 nature, 2 blood, which is a great combination, by the way. It allows for a lot of different forgeable items and good spells. But even more importantly, he has 120 leadership. Now, while the other guy got 80 leadership, which allowed him to recruit 4 squads, lead 4 squads without morale penalties, this guy gets 4 squads without morale penalties, and he gives +2 morale. The other guy is not so good, but not so good, because he gives +1. Now, I love the priest king, and he's going to lead our armies, or the priest kings are going to lead our armies. They're great. Yeah, their stats aren't that special. They're not bad either, actually, for a human unit. His protection is bad, so we have to keep him away from arrow fire. He got no shield either. But he's good. So let's continue. By the way, he can levy slaves too, but that would be a waste of his turn. He's better spent hunting for blood slaves instead of regular slaves, which can serve in our armies. So we've got the Rain Priest. The Rain Priest got 13 research ability, 2 water magic and 2 blood magic. At the start of the game we're going to recruit, or in the next few turns, a Mictlan priest and a few of these guys to do site searching, but I'll explain that in great detail then. The Moon Priest is like the Rain Priest, but he got astral magic, and we've got the High Priest of the Sun, who got 3 blood magic and 3 priest levels. And he's a great priest who can cast Divine Blessing, which blesses all units on the battlefield instantly. And he's got fire magic level 2, which is also great. Especially this allows us to summon certain demons. Okay, we've got warriors. These guys got slings and spears, and their stats are really average. We've got warriors with armor, which are basically the same, but with armor. Warriors with better armor. These guys got javelins instead of slings, which are pretty good. They do some nice damage, but they're not very precise. But if you use a line of these and have them throw their javelins at a big collection of enemy units, you'll probably hit quite a lot of them, which can be a nice start of the battle. But we're not going to use a lot of these. These are the same, but instead of a spear they're using a mace, and they got better armor, copper skill armor. Like these guys got Mictlan armor, whatever that's supposed to be. We've got the feathered warrior. We'll probably use these. They give us this. They've got the standard ability. They inspire units in their squad and give them 1 extra morale, which is great. Morale is really important because most battles are decided not by the last man standing. There are exceptions. Sometimes it works like that, but most of the time it doesn't. Most of the time, the armies start fleeing. A squad routes. They're afraid. Like half of the units are gone, and they're getting arrows are raining down on them, and they're like, "Screw this! I didn't sign up for this. Goodbye." They run. And then the rest of the army gets morale penalties, like, oh shit, part of us are running. Oh, luckily one of the enemies is running. They are running, so really the enemy gets a morale hit, and eventually one of the entire armies just runs, dissipates into the various neighboring provinces, and voila, you've won the battle. These guys will help us fight longer, which is great because our units got a lot of staying power in battle. Okay, we've got the Moon Warrior, which is a better equipped warrior, basically. He's got no shield, but he wears copper skill armor. He's got pretty good stats, for a Mictlan warrior at least. And his weapon is great, the Obsidian Clubsword. But who's also got this weapon is the Jaguar Warrior. Obsidian Clubsword for 18 damage. Anyway, his strength is higher than that guy. His armor is nothing to write home about. He's got 7 protection, but it's better than this guy with his 0 protection. But he is sacred, so he can be blessed. He will transform into a weird jaguar once he's killed, basically. So when he gets to 0 hit points, or actually in our case less, but I'll explain that later, he transforms, and we're going to use him for our armies. I will explain more about him in a battle, preferably one where one of them dies. Eagle Warrior. The Eagle Warriors are sacred warriors who don feather cloaks. They wield spears and daggers, but wear no armor. When blessed, the sacred cloaks give the Eagle Warriors the ability to fly. They're nice, they're cool. I like that they can fly once blessed. It's pretty unique that they get a special ability. But again, we're probably not using these because we're using Jaguar Warriors. Still, sometimes I may recruit them, and they may what's the word? They may flank enemies. Thank you very much. Memory. Sun Warriors, I mentioned these in the first episode. They're armored versions of, they're basically sacred versions of the Feathered Warrior / Moon Warriors. With nice hatchets and a javelin. They got some great armor, but they're really slow. Map move 1, you can see it here. These got map move 2, for instance, and they are pretty, well, bad, generally. So we're not going to use these, or they're not bad, sorry, but they don't benefit as much from our blessing, just like the Eagle Warriors. So we're not using these too much. So you might have noticed the holy points. We can only recruit a certain amount of sacred units per turn. Well, this guy is sacred, so we used 1 holy point. Per province, by the way. Every province gets to recruit sacred units. We'll add up a few Juggler Warriors, end up at 14 gold. Let's repeat that recruitment, because we're going to recruit these every turn. Unless we're out of money, or we need money for some other greater goal. Now, we've got 2 commanders here. I think that I explained most. Oh yeah, wait. There are certain thrones on the map, like it's a throne here, and one here, and one here. These are our victory points. I explained what they do a bit in the previous episode, but this episode I'm going to show you the thrones. We've got the throne of the Pandocrator, the throne of life, of might, the high throne, flames, pestilence, misfortune, knowledge, zeal, abundance, and stability. Which thrones you get is random for each game, but I think that if you pick a maximum, you get all the thrones. But I'll go over them real quickly. We've got the throne of the Pandocrator, which spreads dominion really quickly. It's level 3, so it's guarded by a lot of enemies. Ooh, I'm popular, I got a message. We've got the throne of life, which increases growth naturally in the province it's in. So if this were the throne of life, and our dominion gets next to it, which is like scouting, it reveals all the surrounding units. Yeah, and we see growth. We know that this throne is probably the throne of growth. So it also gives growth +1 to our dominion when claimed. It spreads our dominion with 2, which means that it's as strong as 2 temples. So this guy is as strong as 7 temples, which is crazy. And it gives some nature gems, which we need. So I would love to claim this throne. The throne of might will give us our blessed units 2 strength, which is great. The high throne will give us 3 dominion per turn. The dominion spread. It's a level 1 throne, so it's guarded by slightly better than average independent units. The throne of flames will give us fire resistance and produces fire gems per turn. Yeah, okay, that's it. But it's nice because we want fire resistance for our demon-aided armies. The throne of pestilence increases death in its province. It also produces death gems when claimed, and it gives your dominion death. So basically it makes your dominion worse. And we're probably not going to claim this one until the end of the game, just to win. Generally it's good to leave certain thrones unclaimed. Unless of course you've got a net 4 growth, but the maximum is 3. So you don't care about, for instance, if you start with 3 growth, you get the throne of life, which brings to 4 growth. You can add the throne of pestilence, no problem. You'll end up still at 3 growth. The throne of misfortune, well, while the astral pearls are nice, we're not going to want misfortune. Definitely not. Throne of knowledge, this one is great. I mentioned that our research can be pretty bad. Well, these guys can fix that. The lore master gives us access to all types of magic and is a superb researcher, although I'm not so certain about his gold efficiency. But the sages are really efficient when it comes to gold. Almost as efficient as our Mictlan priests, which are only efficient because they're cheap and they are sacred. Basically, by the way, I determine their efficiency by dividing their upkeep cost by their research points. So basically the gold we spend per month on the research points, per research point determines the efficiency. But the sages are really efficient and great researchers, so we're definitely going to, if we claim this throne, spam them. Every turn we get a sage. The throne of zeal gives our troops extra morale, our blessed troops. And basically we're using hordes of these, so great. Well, abundance would give us sloth, which we absolutely don't care about because we're at the maximum. Gold, great, and a lot of gems. And the throne of stability adds fire, at magic resistance. Alright. Wait, we could... this one increases death even before we claim it, so we can recognize this one as well. Then we've got the pretenders of the world. Well, we've got ourselves, Mate-Uratactitlan. Let's check out our titles. We're the dead and undying god, the king of the eternal forest, the most high. I'm I'm not sure whether they mean that we're high on weed or something like that, or that we're really like exalted. Probably the latter. And we're the shadow overall. We're omnipresent. We're the shadow. Then there's TNG. Give me one moment. I'm going to drink a bit of water. Okay, there's TNG, which is the patron of herbalists, which gives them nature magic, king of kings, the teacher of philosophy, and the rice emperor. I'm not sure what these titles mean. Basically, we got dead and undying and shadow overall because of her death magic. Pangaea, Lord of Mists, is air magic, king at the crossroads, I'm not sure, and the watcher of the gallows, death magic. Oh. Pangaea, by the way, TNG is based on ancient China, and Pangaea is a nation of Greek mythology wild men, like satyrs and centaurs and minotaurs. I minimized my game. They're a great nation. Agartha. Agartha is the underground nation of one-eyed humanoids I mentioned earlier. And their god is the maker of mountains, earth magic, lord of the west wind, air magic, wolf of the storms, air magic, and the earth monster, which is again earth magic. Okay, nice Agartha. Othfafnuf, Vanheim. I always get a Vanheim in my Mictlan games. I don't know why. Even if I pick five other nations, I get Vanheim as an opponent. They're based on Norse mythology, and they are like a magical race of illusionists, basically. Well, he's the master of nature and the old one. So maybe at one time he was a young old one, but he grew up to become a normal old one, and then eventually the old one. And he's got nature magic, obviously. Then we've got Ariot for Lanka. Lanka is a nation of monkeys ruled by demon ogres. And he's the opener of wells and the god of dreams. I think that's astro magic. Then we've got Ur. Ur is the patron of farmers. Caspar from Ur is the patron of farmers, nature, prince of education and science. Well, that sounds great, but we're going to kill you because, as I mentioned before, Ur should be led by Ursula or Lilithai. I'm not sure which one. One of both would be okay. They both would be okay, sorry. And they're traitors to the Let's Play I mentioned earlier by Marcus Aurelius. We're going to show them. Then there's Pelagia. Pelagia is an underwater nation, so the game picked another one. And like I said, by the way, I didn't pick Agartha because the AI doesn't know how to play Agartha well. But the AI is stubborn. And I said that I picked Oceania as the only underwater nation, as the game is pretty bad at playing the other underwater nations. And again, the game is stubborn and it gives us Pelagia, the Pearl Kings. Well, they worship Murok, the Prince of Near and Close, the Prince of Order, Sword of Balance, the Terror of the Tomb, Death Magic, Order. I'm not sure what Near and Close does, but it's a really, great title, Murok. They're a nation of Tritons, which are like underwater humans, and they can't leave the water. They also got mermen, and they're only native units which can leave the water. And there's Oceania. They got Kaxkulu, Lord of Arcane Mysteries, which is Astral, and Defined Scribe, which is again, I believe, Astral Magic. So, oops. So Kaxkulu got Astral Magic, and he's a Defined Scribe. Oh, he's the Lord of Arcane Mysteries, might also indicate a strong magic dominion. And if I recall correct, and this is the Prince of Order, so this is probably Oceania, as he got Turmoil 3. So Oceania should be here. And that's how we can gather information, you know? Just be smart, read these kind of things. So Oceania, by the way, is like underwater Pangaea. I hate them a lot, and that's why I play with them. So I can destroy them. So we're going to send our scout here, so we can get closer to this throne. This guy is going to capture slaves, so we can later use these. I'm going to... Oh yeah, by the way, I press spacebar. It gives us our orders. We can also click this little thing here. So he's capturing slaves and he's sneaking. If we press control, he will not sneak but normally move, which means that he will attack the province. We don't want that. Oh wait, this is a farmland. They give a lot of income and we need a gold. So I want to see what's there. And then we can move like this. Or like this, because we can't cross this river. Let's see, did we miss out on anything? No, we did not. So I will now, I think, end the turn. We will get our Juggler Warriors and our Priest King. And there we go. Alright. If you can give me one moment, let's check. An unexpected event has occurred in Mictlan. Okay, a handful of gems have been found in the shards of a broken mirror. Air gems +4. Well, okay, we got a positive event. It's surprising. These proclamations are basically the countries telling the world that they got a prophet. They named the prophet. Erlang the nobles shall hereby be known as the prophet of Kinhira. I think that the nobles ride chariots in TNG. Vanheim got a Vanhurs, which is a priest commander, I think, normally. But now he's a super priest, a prophet commander. We got Lanka, they got a Bandar commander. Okay. And Ur, they named an Enkidu commander, their prophet. We, as you might have noticed, have not yet named a prophet. And I'm going to end this episode here. And next turn we're really going to get started playing the game. Less explaining, more action. So thank you very much for watching. May Mate-Uratactitlan bless you and see you, talk to you next time. Goodbye.